All right, everybody, we're recording. It's the Cowboy Perspective coming back at you. It's been a while. Thanks for sticking with me. We'll be bringing more episodes, and I'm excited about this one. It's a conversation I had with a guy named Harral, and my skills of recording, etc., is kind of being a little rusty is showing here because I forgot to hit record on the audio. So there's about 5 minutes of this conversation I've got to kind of reenact for you, and I'm excited to do that. I think once we get past this little piece, you're going to get to see Day, hear Day, get to know Day, and everybody who already does know him, well, I'll almost guarantee you say, I just love that guy. So, I took some notes on a little napkin here. I wanted to cover some of the stuff that we had talked about. I had a video rolling, so I was able to go back and listen to that. I guess the first thing we talked about there was how the conversation, the recording, was not planned. I almost tripped Day as we're walking into the TSCRA convention, and he kind of looks at me like, oh, whoa, I'm careful. And then we get to talking a little bit. Turns out he knows my dad. Then he starts telling me about his son-in-law. By the way, shout out Nick Burns, who he's really proud of, who's doing all kinds of cool stuff, and is also kind of a mindset guy, a physical fitness guy, been in the military. Just a really cool story around Nick. And I'm starting to think, man, I need to get this guy on the podcast. Then he says, well, and I sell my beef to Whole Foods. And I was like, not expecting that. So we just had to sit down and talk. So the next note is, I was kind of getting Day to tell me a little bit about who he is, where he's from. He says, well, I live southeast of Fort Stockton, and we've been there since about 1889, and then we came to Texas in 1859, and we've been in the U.S. since 1650, which that's pretty cool that he knows that stuff, but that's a lot that this guy's been in this country. His family's been doing it for many years. So I kind of laugh, and I'm like, oh my gosh, Fort Stockton, that's not the most rainfall people have seen. It's kind of like rare to see rainfall, right, Day? And he laughs a little bit. He says, yeah, we don't get much rain, for sure not in Fort Stockton, but a little bit southeast where they live, they get 12 to 20 inches of rain a year. And we talked a little bit about how that's just really different. How you learn to live and operate where you are. And that was something I thought was really poignant or truthful or real, or the cowboy perspective. You learn to live and work where you are. That's just the way it is. His family has always been in agriculture. They arrived in Fort McCavitt in 1859. They were cotton farmers. Then the Civil War broke out. You can imagine kind of some crazy years through there. Got back into cotton farming, then started raising cattle, and ultimately end up in Day's generation with sheep. And the next kind of topic we jump to, which I was like, okay, cool, let's talk about that 2008 fire, because I mentioned he sells beef to Whole Foods. Well, they raised sheep, and in 2008, their ranch burnt down. They had been raising sheep for 140 years, and it all went away. And now we're about to pick up to where I hit play on the recorder, and we'll get to hear Dave talk about it, why he raised sheep, and then we're off to the races. So thanks for listening. I'm excited for you to hear it.
We'd been in the sheep business for 140 years out there in that area. And the sheep are really good about getting involved in other hard country. I think the reason we were successful at it, and it wasn't just us, there were quite a few ranchers out there that had been there a long time. You could always count on our sheep to breed up. They'd always have a lamb. And then if God blessed you, you'd be able to raise him and sell him. But they were always able to breed. And we never had to sell out completely in 140 years. And there were a lot of dry spells. Yeah. And that's the reason we were in the sheep business. And we were having huge problems with imports at that point in time. Coyotes were getting worse. And then we had a series of fires roll in 2008. They lasted all the way till 2013. But the worst one was in '08, and it burned everything. Houses, oil inside the windmills burned. The sheep were all smoldering. They were running, and the lanolin in their wool was smoking. They were boiling to death. That's what was happening. All the lambs burned. I mean, everything burned down. All the fences.
Well, see, I'm picturing desert.
It's a hard
deal.
What's
even burning? What is it? Scrub brush?
The flames were 40 feet high there in some places. A lot of those draws, we had a lot of draws with a lot of Spanish walnuts in them, hackberries, a lot of blue cedars.
Yeah.
You're
even
right.
in a really dry climate, there's still plenty of stuff to burn.
Where we were, you get the draws running down some of those canyons and so forth, there'll be a lot of cover in there. Now, out in those greasewood flats, not much will grow, but you get back in those hills where you have a different kind of soil, and you get over 17 inches, you get up as high as 20, it'll grow stuff. The lowest rainfall I've ever seen was 2.5 inches, but I've seen 45 inches down there too.
Right.
But we had to do something. I had 4 kids in college, and we had to do something. We had to do it in a hurry. We had always had about 100 cows, just a little small bunch, and a lot of those bulls had gone into Mexico, and they were crossing them on what I'd call number 2 or number 3 type cattle, and so we decided to bring those kind of cattle to us, and they were not pretty, the ugly as sin.
Right.
But they were like a bunch of Spanish goats. They were always bred.
Yeah, and they were hardy.
They were hardy, and I slaughtered them reds, blacks, and whites, and started crossing really good bulls. And I spent lots of money on bulls, lots of money, and it worked. And our base commercial herd now is about a quarter Corriente and 3/4 Angus Limousine, and then we put real good bulls on them, so we got a lot of 7/8 calves, and they'll outperform most anything. And then we started selling straight to Whole Food into their grass-fed program, and it worked. Yeah. I mean, it works.
So tell me about that. You're never putting them in a feed lot, or if you do, are you feeding them forage?
The ones that go to Whole Food, we have a few that we send on to the feedlots if Whole Food can't take all of them. We do, and they do well in the feedlot. But the ones that go to Whole Food, we're GAP certified, and there's nothing to be scared of about getting certified.
Do you mind talking about that for a minute? Because I've encouraged some people to go GAP. We're GAP. We're raising pigs, not cattle, but I've just grown my career, at least at Peterson's, with Whole Foods. So all of these requirements, all these expectations, all these audits don't seem like a big deal to me.
Don't be scared of them. They come out there and they'll help you through the audit. And if you find some things that aren't right, you'll fix it, and they'll come back and check you a little bit later on. And Thunder, they want you to pass.
Yeah,
they want you to pass.
Did it end up costing you more to be GAP, or do you know? Can you give us a pulse on being certified? Did it end up costing you more labor, more time doing paperwork?
Absolutely not. We were already doing everything that GAP wanted. I mean, we tried to take care of the cattle. We used to take care of the sheep. I mean, we're there to raise them. We want them to do well.
Yeah.
Anything that requires any antibiotics or something like that, we just pull them off and put them in another line. We'll notch their ear differently and give them a shot. I don't want them to die. You don't make any money that way. And it is about money, y'all. It is about money.
Yeah, that's so true.
And the audit itself, it doesn't cost $1,500, $2,000. It doesn't cost much money relative to everything else that you're spending every day.
Yeah.
But the number of doors that it opens is incredible. And there's good news behind some of those doors. Not all of them, but some of them. And you need to open and close those doors and find out the ones that work for you. But
Dave, you're such a wise man.
It helped.
I hope people are listening, because even as we're walking and riding the escalator, we're talking about how bad things are a lot of times good and good things are a lot of times bad.
It just goes with the flow.
Not every door is going to be good.
They're not. I mean, the calves we raise for them at the ranch for whole food, we'll keep them there at the ranch, and I follow the rules. I follow the rules, and we'll cut them off at, say, 500-600 pounds. If it's getting real dry, I'll cut them off at 400.
Now, do you have to castrate them super young or something?
Yeah, but it's easy to do. All the fences are burned down. We just have exterior fences around the ranches. There are no internal fences. They're all gone. We can't cut the bulls off, so we're calving year-round. And, in effect, we're cutting off every 60 to 90 days, and we're marking every 60 to 90 days. We never quit working cattle.
Yeah.
We're working cattle someplace all the time.
Now, who all's helping you do this?
Well, I've got 3 men from Peru. I've got 1 man out of Mexico and a man here out of Texas. And then I've got 5 children, and 4 of the 5 of them are there all the time. And then I got the son-in-law, so there are quite a few of us. But we're working cattle every day someplace, cutting off calves, marking calves. We'll take them off the ranch. Usually we found someplace on the ranch or one of the ranches where it's rained, and you can put those calves over there and carry them on up to, say, 700. If I don't have a place that's green, usually you can find some abandoned fields somewhere that have grown up in tumbleweeds, and everybody cusses a tumbleweed, but they're about the best feed there is when it's real short and young. Anyway, I'll figure out a way to get them on up to 800 or 900 pounds, and then we'll put them on some fields on silage, and we put a lot of them out on turnips.
Yeah.
Not little turnips, but they're big turnips.
I've heard them
and radishes. They like radishes.
Yeah, planting turnips also helps the soil. It kind of breaks it up and this kind of thing.
The hogs the calves really won't realize those turnips are there until the hogs get out there and start pulling them up. Then the calves realize what they are. But we'll get them on up to 1,150, 1,200 pounds pretty fast. And that's where Whole Food wants them.
Yeah. And
then we'll ship them. And they pay us based on the hanging weight of the calf. And year in, year out, it's a pretty good deal.
Yeah.
Particularly when the regular market is low, the Whole Food market is.
It's nice to have.
It's better to have. When the market's as high as it is right now, you're not getting that much of a premium by going into one of these premium programs.
I mean, that is a barrier for a lot of people getting into this Whole Foods kind of cost plus hanging weight program, because they're like, well, when the market's good, I'm going to miss my home run. I try to tell them, yeah, but when the market's bad, you're not going to take it in the shorts like you would typically.
Well, I'm more interested in a regular cash flow year in, year out, because we got a lot of bills to pay. There are a lot of us. We've done well. We've expanded the ranches. Owe a lot of money. But you got to have a regular cash flow to make it work, and you can't go up and down and up and down.
Yeah.
Some of the cattle we'll take some risk on, like the ones going to a feed yard, and it usually works out. I'll hedge them or do something, but that Whole Food check's a pretty regular check.
Yeah.
And there's nothing wrong with regular.
Why'd you have so many kids?
That's right. The kids are the biggest blessing in the world. Yeah. We're been able to expand, and the kids are all involved, and they're wanting more ranches, and they're wanting more cattle, and things are good. I mean, things are good.
What do you think made the kids be so interested? Did you, like, when you're raising them? I'm trying to get into your thought process.
We worked them hard.
Did they like that?
They seem to, but they've all come home.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
That's what we were talking about. Humans are built to do hard things. I think it gives us something inside ourselves that we need.
Well,
trust or I don't know what it is exactly.
I don't think most people really ever meet their potential because they don't put it out there.
Right.
And you've got to hustle.
Yeah.
And try, and I'm real old school, very traditional, very conservative, but you got to take some risk in life.
Yeah.
If you don't take risk in life, you're not going to meet your potential.
I mean, and a lot of the biggest, best lessons I have found come from taking the risk that doesn't work out. I mean, you can't.
Most of them don't work out.
That's right.
Most of them don't.
But you're going to learn
But the ones that do make all the difference.
You're just saying things that I think most of the people I talk to thinks impossible. You're adding to your ranch. You're buying land.
It's not impossible. And don't get me wrong. I got all the kids involved. We look at it real closely before we make a move, but we're not scared to make a move.
Yeah.
And I check the financing out, and we check out everything. We do all the title work.
Are there any kids that have kind of affinity for different things? Did
Oh,
it
gosh,
just
yeah.
get lucky that,
No,
my kids, this one's good at the money or the
well,
books?
I wanted them educated. We got two of them are attorneys. One of them's a medical doctor. Two others are more closely involved there at the ranch. I got one son that handles all our water wells. He takes care of 45 water wells for us. That's a big job.
Yeah,
and he works for other people, takes care of their wells too. And another one that's a doctor. We watch the livestock real close. Some of them are more interested in the horses. I'm more interested in the cattle. And really, I spend as much time now watching the paper and the computer and doing all the compliance work.
Yeah.
And the rest of them are out in the pasture. The men from Peru, I've had them for 15 years. They know more about each cow than I do. I used to know each cow real well. I don't know each cow anymore.
Yeah.
But the kids or the men know each one of them. They know where all the bulls are. They just know them.
Yeah.
I don't know it all anymore.
Do you speak Spanish?
Oh, yeah.
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 See, that's another piece of the puzzle. Like being bilingual, even multilingual, is such an asset.
Well, my wife, she grew up in Africa, and that's a large part of this. How can I say this? You know, when you grow up in that environment, it's a different environment. So moving to West Texas wasn't that different.
Yeah.
And her dad was with the oil companies, moved around to different places. They saw a lot of different styles of life in Africa. Saw several revolutions, saw helicopters go down. I mean, it's not all easy.
Yeah.
It's not all easy. But she learned to speak Portuguese before she learned to speak English. And so she took to the Spanish pretty easily there at the ranch. Yeah. And her family came off farms up in Illinois, so it's kind of a common background. The first time her grandparents came down, they were kind of concerned about her out on a ranch in far west Texas, and a snake crawled out from underneath the schoolhouse. There's a schoolhouse there that everybody used to go to school in. The snake lifted his head up, and she shot the head off the snake. Yeah. And the grandfather said, this may be all right.
Yeah, that's right. I love that. One other thing I got to wondering about. So, do you guys lease your place for hunting? Do you have any other resources? I don't know, oil, anything else that's out there generating revenue?
We've done a lot of development with our deer hunting and now elk hunting.
Yeah.
A lot of big elk. We'll go up to, some of them are scoring. I don't have a 400 yet, but we're getting close to 400.
Yeah.
And we will have a 400 because we're feeding them and taking care of them. And a lot of people don't like it, but I've gotten involved in the wind business, and I'm not in the solar, but I have gotten involved in the wind business. I'm familiar with how you do a lot of land projects and that kind of thing, and I'm active in all that.
Yeah.
And we don't have any oil and gas production on us, but I've sure tried to get some at times, and I'll turn some leases and that type of thing. But and that's part of it. That's part of it.
Sure, that's part of the game.
Yeah,
like,
I mean,
you're playing every play that you can.
I'm trying to play every play we can play.
Yeah. Okay, so real quick, really what we first talked about this morning was Nick and veterans and some of what.
Nick was a son-in-law that joined the family in 2012, and what a blessing he was. And you and I were talking about him. on a bomb disposal unit with Airborne in Afghanistan. He'd been a huge addition to the family, but he's brought a lot of another dynamic relative to the what I'm going to call the computer age, which I don't savvy at all.
Yeah.
His degree was in predictive analytics, and he's helping us with some of that. And this is going to sound crazy, but we're thinking about doing something along these AI lines and using photos of our cattle to be more predictive of what they might do.
Yeah.
And his wife, that's the youngest daughter, she's the one that's an attorney.
Yeah.
The oldest son's an attorney. And then the oldest daughter, Christy.
You almost could be a Yellowstone movie, it sounds like. Pretty
we're
close.
a long way from Yellowstone.
Yeah, right.
You haven't seen our headquarters versus that. Yeah. We're let me tell you, we're light years from Yellowstone, but there's some of the same philosophy.
Yeah, sure.
There is.
Well, and I mean, it's just you had 5 kids who are smart, who are out there, who are interested in helping, who I bet don't just take everything you tell them and just go do it like they.
No,
believe
me, they don't. I'm the dumbest one of the bunch. Ask them. Yeah, they don't take. Believe me, they don't take everything just like that. Christy's husband is handling some of the meat online himself. Some of the calves that don't work out for whole food, or some of them just don't work out. Well, we kill them ourselves.
Yeah.
We'll take them into Mertzen. They're killing them there at Mertzen for us, and Nathan's getting online and selling that meat, and the people that are buying it don't know anybody. I mean, they don't know it was a cull for us.
Oh, well, yeah. I mean, just because it's a cull doesn't mean the meat's any different. It just didn't fit the program.
It didn't fit the program.
Yeah.
It didn't fit the program. Yeah.
I mean, that's all.
I eat it.
That's right. That's all I ever ate.
Yeah.
My life was a cull bull that got cut because he couldn't make a purebred seed stock animal. So now we just feed him out and eat him. So
we brought some calves in. We were going to eat one of them the other day, and there's a great big 3-year-old heifer that's never had a calf. Well, we're going to kill that. That's who we're going to eat.
That's right.
And sell the others and get the money off of them. You got to cash flow, everybody.
Yeah,
you have to cash flow.
And I mean, that's a couple of simple words, cash flow, but there's a lot.
It's hard to do.
Yeah, and you better be paying attention to it. We were talking about this podcast, and I need to grow the audience. I mean, I love doing it. I can't tell you how much I appreciate you sitting here and having this conversation
I enjoyed it.
Share with people. So I love it. But you said, hey, it needs to cash flow, Neil.
Everything's got to cash.
I've got to figure that out.
I follow a couple of rules. Everything's got to cash flow, but you always got to treat people right.
Yeah.
If you treat people right, and it'll be okay.
Yeah. I think that's a very Cowboy perspective, very West Texan perspective. See, I went to Tech for my college. Dad went to Tech, so I just followed him up there. What didn't I study? Just whatever Dad did. I mean, I had no clue what I'm going to do in life, but I'm just kind of trying to be doing something. And the trick is show up. Like, go to class. You're going to graduate.
Oh, yeah.
And you're going to make friends. Go to class, sit next to somebody you hadn't sat next to before. Say hi. And I have my best friend from my time at Tech. We are still so close. We roped calves together. We spent hours and hours in cotton fields, harvesting cotton, building bales. That's a relationship I would not have if I hadn't gone out there.
My wife and I, we were raising our own kids in Thunder. We had jillions of other kids around the house for years, lots of them. And she's involved in the beauty pageant business, and it's a good deal, really. Our youngest daughter was Miss Teen Texas, and we were down there in Houston and everything. She was also one of the cheerleaders for the Texans, and who would have ever thought a little girl off a ranch in West Texas could do that? But there's a key there. You show up, and you be prepared.
Yeah.
You're prepared. That daughter is going to Houston tomorrow to be part of the interview group that interviews the coming group of cheerleaders coming into the Texas program.
Yeah.
And it's been 8 years since she's been down there, but she's one of the alumni that works with them.
Yeah.
And it's a good experience. Yeah. We had 13 of those girls come out to the ranch when they got married. That was the most motivated group of young women I've ever seen in my life. They were all up at 4 o'clock in the morning. They'd show up for practice. A lot of them were in law school. I mean,
Oh my gosh.
oh God, it was a first-class bunch
Yeah.
of people. Yeah.
A man needs to be a man. I believe that. Like, I'm
Yes.
not going to be a pushover. I'm going to stand for things. But there, you get into real successful families, it's going to have a strong female. A strong.
It has to.
It's not optional. I mean,
It has to.
now, my wife and I think, fit those bills, but we don't agree on everything. We
Oh, believe me,
battle
my
about
wife and I
stuff.
don't agree on everything either.
But
we do agree on the basics in life. Yes.
That disagreement gets you to hammer out the best thing. Like, you hammer it out together, the best thing. That's where I wish our political culture and everything could get more excited about.
Well, let me tell you,
Hammering it out.
sometimes on the front end, you don't know what the best thing is.
That's right. You don't have a clue.
You don't know, but you keep working at it. Things kind of work out.
Yeah.
Things kind of work out.
All right. You've spent a lot of time with me. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Tell me one story from that you remember that's like, man, that taught me so much. Either from, it could be something your granddad or father-in-law, kids, something that's kind of maybe even funny to you now that wasn't funny then. Does anything come to mind?
One does. We had a water well back when I was about 6 years old, and we had never had a dry hole. Never. And we'd gotten some new ranch land and had about 800 ewes up there on that track, and there was a well up there. And we dropped the darn pipe in that well. 800 foot of pipe we dropped in it. Man, we worked for 3 weeks getting that pipe out of that hole. And we had a big tank, lots of water in the tank. We weren't hauling more water to that tank. That was a mistake. We should have been hauling more water to that tank. Got the pipe out of the hole finally and ran the line down the hole. Hell, there wasn't any water in the hole. That had never happened. Never happened. We had about 2 days worth of water left in that tank, and all those sheep there. It was rough country. And my dad and I were looking at each other, and we had some men there, and I knew we couldn't get all those sheep out of there if we ran out of water. It's impossible. And I tell you what, I prayed that night, and I found out the next day my dad did too. There was water in that hole the next morning. 90 feet of water was in that hole. And that well has never gone dry since then. And that taught me a lesson about the power of prayer.
Yeah.
And I believe in it.
You're making me emotional telling that story.
I believe in it.
Yeah. I don't know what else to say. Thank you for
Yeah.
your time. That's
Thank
a
you.
great story. And shout out to your family.
Thank you.
Your kids, your wife. I just want to meet them now. It's like, dang, that'd
Maybe
be
you
really
can.
cool.
Come on out and see us.
Yeah, that's right. Well, maybe we could set something up. I'd sure like to connect with Nick on some of the
Well, I was
stuff he's
amazed
up
that
to.
you were able to get in touch with him on the phone a few minutes ago. Yeah, you looked him up online just like that.
Well, for anybody listening, LinkedIn
Yeah.
is a great place to just make a quick connection with somebody. And there's a good chance Nick's not. He probably gets a lot of those, so he's not going to know me from Adam, and he may not.
Oh, I'll tell him I ran
Well,
into
that's
you.
right, but-
he's Petrofit. I'll tell him I ran
Yeah,
into you.
that's right. Oh, yeah, that's right. Petrofit.
Petrofit's him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he's one of those guys I like to know. I mean, you are too. It's just like, you're not going to allow me. I got to believe Nick's not going to allow me to go easy.
No.
You know, it's
No.
like, Day's not going to go easy.
Yeah.
If you're going to be in Day's circle or around Day, he's not going to say, oh, well, don't worry about it, Neil. You like the podcast.
Right.
Just keep doing it. You're going to say, hey, it better be cash flowing.
Right.
I appreciate that so much. Everybody, tell somebody about this episode. Share it. I just know if you enjoyed it, I've had a
Thank you.
very fun time here, and I bet you did too. So catch you next time.
Thank you.